So hi, everybody. I'm Wang with Constellation Research, and today I'm with Dan Brown, Chief Product and Strategy Officer of, I'm not sure I can talk about that yet. So let's start here. So what's going on? There's some big news coming from you guys from FinancialForce today.
Yeah.
Can you share what this is to our viewers and what's going on?
That's right. We have a new name, Ray, and the name is Certinia. So we are no longer FinancialForce. And, I think that name is a reflection of who we are as a company and how we've changed. So we're really excited about it. I think it's a beautiful name. And we're excited to announce it with you here.
That's great. Now, is Certinia still going to be an ERP company, a PSA company, an FP&A company, or how do you define yourselves now?
Yeah. Well, I think you actually sort of, that was a great segue in the sense that, if you rewind a little bit, we were a financials company. We added a broader portfolio. We continue to do that. Like if you look over the last 18 months, we're not just a financials company. Obviously that heritage is really important. It's really important in any kind of system of record. But we're really a much broader company than that. And I think the name change reflects that. I mean, we kind of outgrew FinancialForce, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you established yourself in that space, but you're definitely a lot more than that. And let's talk about the name. I mean, it's Certinia. I mean, I'm thinking maybe it's the word certainty, or what's so important about that? Like, what came behind that? So,
well, I think there are two things. What does that reflect on the company? And I think when you're talking about mission critical systems, and you're talking about not only systems of record, but those systems of record are things that create your systems of intelligence. And obviously that's a pretty important technology and business topic, has been over the last 5 years, will continue to be, in the next decade and so on. So I think, certainty certainly reflects how much you trust those systems of record that build those systems of intelligence.
But hey, there's something that's interesting about this, right? It sounds like you're becoming and evolving into something a bit more, like a services as a business platform, for example.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And for example, are you targeting more services businesses than manufacturing? Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when you take a look at market trends, I don't think anybody would be shocked to say that, as a service is dominating, even product-centric companies are becoming more and more as a service, and the value creation is coming more from those parts of the business, either as an annuity or value add services, both professional and technology. And so, we really benefited from being, focusing on services businesses, early in our history, building on a customer engagement platform that was the preeminent customer engagement platform. And so, focusing on services business and having this platform, services as a business, how do you actually do that? What kind of workloads do you need? How does it change the way you orient yourself towards the customer? All of those things. And moreover, how you orient yourselves towards your vendors and your partners. Those are things that are reflected in our portfolio and will continue to be reflected in the portfolio. And I think that also reflects why we're a much different company than we were, say, 5-10 years ago.
Right. I mean, I've heard you talk about this before, right? In that services orientation, products are not people, right? People are not products, right? And we're really oriented around work and projects. And I think that's a very important piece. And that customer centricity that you guys have brought, not just customer in the traditional sense, like customers, partners, suppliers, employees. That's a very, very important part. And we're seeing a lot of this, right? When we look at, services organizations, they really need a very different tool to be successful from a product oriented company. That's why we have a services-oriented ERP, right? As we're seeing that expansion of what that marketplace means, because people need to manage talent. They need to deliver on time, on budget. They need to understand, what resources they have. They need to make sure that their projects are on time and, that they have some level of certainty in terms of what they're trying to get to. So we're definitely seeing that.
But I think any kind of as a service entity, you can expand that problem very broadly. So, the question is, from a unit economics perspective, is like, hey, what are people doing, and how are they creating value for the customers, for the partners, for the organization as a whole, and how are they doing that in a connected way? That's a really deep question. It's also a really challenging one for organizations. That's one of the reasons why we went into customer success. It's an area that is incredibly important to the long-term viability of a company, to how customers stay engaged and get value out of whatever service you're delivering. The other one is, how do you get data about this? That's a challenge. Once you have that data, how do you use it? One of the things that, if you look at machine learning and artificial intelligence, it's if you got great data, you can go do supervised, learning. You can train, simple, statistical tools all the way to deep learning. But once you get into, longitudinal decision making where you have uncertainty, that becomes really different.
Let's talk about how you're actually helping customers actually walk through their uncertainty, become much more certain, right? We're in a time of incredible uncertainty. How do you help companies rise and overcome? Give us some examples of what people have been doing.
Yeah, let's start with Hewlett Packard. HPE is a very large customer of ours. Actually, I think they're one of the most exciting companies for us to work with. So here's the thing that we're doing with HPE. Obviously, they're a huge professional services cloud company, but they also are very visionary when it comes to, hey, how do we shape our organization? How do we take the sort of resource management piece from a professional services standpoint and expand that? How do we look at everybody and what they're doing and how we manage their skills? And so they have a very large effort. They're using our platform to expand it across multiple work. The other thing that they do that I think is really exciting is they tie all of those skills to their catalog. And obviously that catalog is a mix between some of the products that they have and some of the services that they have. How can they then, as they introduce new products, drive that through their supply chain of people and skills? And once you start doing that, you can really see the future. You can not only bring new product to market, but you can serve it throughout the customer lifecycle. You can have, dare I say, certainty about how you bring those products to market, how you serve your customers, and how you keep that sort of longitudinal partnership with your customers. Why? Because you have the people who are skilled to go deliver and support your customers.
I think I should set the stage, though. HPE isn't a small company in the services side. You're talking like 5,800 people in like 57 countries, right?
Yeah, that's right. They are a very large company. They're complex. They have a large service catalog, as you know. They're international. And when they get a point of utilization, that goes directly to the top line. It's a big deal for them. And so having this operational rigor, I think, is really important to them. And then the flip side of it, Ray, is, the more rigorous you are from an operational standpoint, the better you deliver to your customers and the longer they stay with you. So it's a fantastic, sort of Goldilocks zone of doing things that are operationally and drive better unit economics and margin, but at the same time, driving better outcomes for your customers. So it's a great model.
So DocuSign, tell me a little about that.
Yeah, DocuSign is another professional services automation company. Like when we think about DocuSign, we don't necessarily think about professional services. I think it's kind of the other end of, you're going from a product company to a services company. Here you're going from something that is a little bit more off the shelf. Like you think, okay, hey, I want to use DocuSign. I can go sign up as an individual. But honestly, when you go into a larger organization, from a B2B standpoint, you're not just talking about signatures. You're talking about contract lifecycle management. And how do you do that correctly? How do you automate it? How do you learn from it? And that's something that their professional services organization does. So they have, I think that they're a really good example of a company that started with very little professional services and that kind of high touch point with their largest customers, have evolved that over time. And now they're actually looking at Customer Success Cloud as a way to operationally improve and improve that touch point with their customers even further.
Dan, this is actually a revolution in place as we go from products to services, services to experiences, and experiences to outcomes. And one of the core things that almost every services organization needs is this services as a business platform.
That's
and
right.
more importantly, right, you're seeing that everybody is starting to be able to have to deliver on the services capability. Even if you're a product company, you're actually required to actually have this need. And so we're seeing that is out there.
I think that over the next 3 months, we've got some fantastic companies that we're landing, at the enterprise level, all the way down to the SMB space where we're delivering services as a business. So we're really excited about some of these logos we're going to land. I think there's some amazing things happening in customer success with regards to go lives that you'll hear about. We've got some great partnerships coming up. But probably the thing that I'm most excited about is a couple of the offers that we have coming out later in the year. So by fall of this year, we have a new offer. I'm just going to tease you a little bit with it. When we think about services as a business, most of us say, okay, well, how do I go from, marketing to, sales engagement to, quoting frictionless to, transacting to delivery to, support and success, and then go all the way back through the top end. But a lot of times we don't think about our buy side of that equation and just how important that value creation and leverage is. So I'll just leave you with that.